How's it going? My name's Shane Moody. I'm the owner and founder of Moody's Mind and Beyond. I'm a mental performance consultant, sports performance trainer, and a nutrition coach. I really believe taking an approach as a whole human is where we need to be when we talk about health and performance, okay? One big piece I'm going to start talking about today in my sports psychology is we're going to talk emotional regulation. This is in the affective domain. My affective domain is emotional skills when I teach athletes, okay? So this is inside of emotional regulation. Here's a great piece that I work with a lot of athletes that have fear connected with their emotions. And when we talk about fear, fear is one of the prime drivers in our regulating our nervous system, right? Most people fear, whether it's an external fear of being judged, right? Of looking stupid, of not fulfilling to your potential, or saying this and not being able to do it, okay? Or it's an internal fear, right? Whether it's a characteristic, whether you're having somatic anxiety, whether it's anxiety that you've had since you were young and you create this fear that you haven't actually worked with, right? With that trauma or different pieces, that could be correlating with inside your sport also. One thing that I talk about with my athletes is I like to utilize this exercise. It's called a fear ladder, all right? So what we do with this fear ladder is I got 5 questions. Yeah, you got 5 questions here. I say that you're the athlete starting at the bottom of the fear ladder, all right? And then we go through question 1, and we start to go through what does this all involve in this question. So the first question I ask is what you think will happen, okay? So I talked to the athlete, I said, what you think will happen in this fear? And a lot of times what I see is my friends are gonna judge me, okay? I'm going to look dumb, okay? I'm going to fail, right? Those are probably your big 3 right there. Fail, friends are gonna judge me, I'm going to look dumb, okay? 3 pieces that a lot of times are not under your control. If your friends judge you, what are you gonna do? You can't control that. Number 2, if you look dumb, well, guess what? When you learn a new skill, you may look dumb at the beginning. It happens all the time. Number 3, right, if you fail, failure is only a choice if you don't try again, okay? So I always bring that up is what you think will happen is usually the first piece of why you are fearing what is going on. You're ruminating over and overthinking the action decision instead of doing the action and learning with it, okay? You take calculated risks, but at some point you got to take the risk, right? It's all risky, okay? So I asked that question, we start talking about that. Number 2, what happens and what coincides in that is, can I cope? That's an important piece when we talk about facing a fear. Are you going to be able to cope with it? And say, you know what? If it goes wrong, can I cope with it? Am I going to be okay? And if you can get your perception and mindset in that area, that is where we help that first step in the ladder. Saying, yes, you can cope with it. Here's the skills. Boom, 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 boom. Here's what we learn. Boom, boom, boom. This is, if it goes this route, we can add here a skill, because skills are not fixed. That's the beauty of it, okay? Number 3, what is my reward? This is the most important piece. Why? It connects directly with your values. I say the best decisions when it comes to fear is asking yourself, is this who I am? And is this connected to my values and my heart and my desires? Because if it is, the reward is going to outweigh the consequence. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of fear. Number 4, this is what happened. Now you take this step. Now we get to the point where you actually take the action step. What happened? Well, what happened was I did look dumb, but then I laughed. And then my friends were like, actually, like, good job, good try, and everything like that, right? And then parents were like, try again. Now you find out that you actually had more support than what you thought you would have. And then you build a little momentum. And then what happened is you said, well, now I want to go back to the drawing board and do it again. And I want to learn more and go again. So now it's like, oh, Is that fear your friend now? Yes, starts to become your friend, okay? So now the beauty of that is when we take the experience, we learn actual skills doing the action. We can't just plan everything, because if we plan everything, we aren't developing any type of skill because we're not doing any action. We only have the skill that we have right now that we're writing on paper to pre-plan. So this is the beauty when we take the step, okay? Then number 5 is the most important piece in that fear. This is what I learned. What did you learn? Most of the time people tell me this. I learned, right, that taking that step has created me into a new person, and I actually start to build confidence that I can adjust my route to then take another step, and then adjust my route and take another step, and then maybe take 1 step down and then take 3 steps up. That's the beauty when you're in it and you're working in the fear. You got it? Okay? And that's perfect examples with this. And what I really like to picture in a fear ladder, what I really like to hold with athletes and try to get them to visualize what is this fear, is I've heard this a lot. I don't know who brought it up, but imagine an ocean. All right? You have this big ocean, and you take a step in it, and you're like, this ocean, I don't know what's in there. I don't know what's beneath. This is scary, right? And then you take a step in the water, and it ends up being 2 feet deep. And then you keep walking, and it just stays 2 feet deep. You're like, oh, the water's at my knees, right? So the beauty of it is the fear is coming from the overthinking of actually taking the action step. Where you break the ladder and you take steps through that ladder is the action. When you have the fear, your stress threshold works with that fear. And then we start to regulate more emotions because guess what? You start to cope really well. And what was once hard is now easy. All right? So that's the beauty of a fear ladder. I love it. I love working with my athletes in this. If you need help, please reach out to Moody's Mind and Beyond, and I can help you in any way that we can and find a direction for you.